We got phones.
And we're trying to figure out if that was a good idea.
We did an episode a while ago talking about screens and phones. Sophia.
Screenagers, right? Screenagers. Screenagers.
Sophia, we did this episode talking about screens and the possibilities of you guys getting a phone at Christmas. If you remember, that was your
thought it was New Year's.
constant.
That was going to change your life if you got a phone.
Yes, it was your constant consideration. We need a phone. The pinnacle of desire.
Okay.
So
Is that untrue?
No.
Okay.
So here we are, circling back around to that conversation. Did we get a phone?
No.
How did we go about getting a phone? And how is it going? We're 6 months out. So we're going to jump into that. First,
And are we glad? Are we glad we made
Are
the
we
decision
glad?
that we did? Yeah.
Are we
That'll be a part of the third point.
or are we sad? I mean, here's your phones on the table. So not to spoiler alert.
We didn't get one.
Daddison,
Yeah,
Addison,
tell us about the decision to get phones.
why are you? I feel like you're singling me out here.
Exactly why.
Well, I mean, a lot of prayer, a lot of consideration went into it. And we felt like we wanted to disciple them on how to manage phones now rather than wait a couple more years and there be this weird obsession and fascination with the phone. Our thing was, why not strip down the phone a bit, but start teaching them how to properly manage phones at this age within reason? Because the reality is so much of our life, for better or worse, so much of our life involves understanding how to properly navigate phones.
Yeah. And that was a turning point in the conversation for me when your conviction was larger. Your conviction to get them a phone was greater than my conviction to just continue on the path of no phone, then we won't have to navigate it. We won't have to
Because it just felt like avoidance.
manage it. Yes. And,
Yeah.
and honestly, for me, it was like, I don't want another thing to have to manage where there's a possibility of it being something that's being fought over or abused. And you had a healthier perspective, in my opinion, of this is inevitable. We need to take the opportunity with Asher already being 14 at the time and Sophia almost 13, take 4 years before he's 18 and recognize that this is training ground.
Yeah.
This is opportunity for us to train them with a device. And so what would that look like? And so we did get them phones. And what are some of this contract? We have an iPhone agreement contract.
So we were in the throes of this decision.
Shred it.
What you gonna do? You're going to shred it?
This will be shredded.
I have so many copies of this agreement. No. And this is actually their agreements with their signatures, initials, and everything on it. But when we were in the throes of making this decision, Asher, do you remember what you were feeling in this season? Do you remember what was happening on the other side? You're giving a look. I'm trying to figure out what this look is. What do you need to say? I feel like there's something you need to say right now.
I don't know. It's a big decision, but our phones are very stripped down. So it's kind of like being a portable iPad kid.
A portable iPad kid. There we go.
Yeah,
Which isn't a bad thing, contrary to popular opinion.
Okay.
Because studies show you shouldn't have social media till you're 16.
16.
Oh, that's a really important point for us to bring up, that getting a smartphone did not mean full access to all the capabilities of a smartphone. We feel very strongly about absolutely no social media before you're 16, although recently we found out that the Bible app has a social media component. You can friend and unfriend people to really send the message home.
So you need to block the Bible app on your kid's phone.
Exactly, guys.
That's not
Definitely kidding. But for us, we did have the realization for us, like, these kids, we think, for them specifically, I think it's a kid by kid decision. Like, sorry, young adults. These young adults, yeah, they're ready to navigate some of the challenges and the nuances that come with having a phone. So
How do you feel about the social media decision?
I don't care. I didn't even really want social media.
But what about those moments when you do? Because do you experience feeling left out because you don't have Instagram or TikTok or Facebook? Just kidding.
what's Facebook? MySpace. Hey, we met on MySpace.
Are you disappointed you don't have MySpace accounts?
Yes, very. Well, most of my friends don't really have social media.
So being in a community where that's not a huge factor helps you navigate that.
Yeah, most of my friends do have social media.
So how has that been for you?
I kind of want social media, but I've seen what it does to kids. Like if they lose it or they lose their phone for a while, it's complete pandemonium. And I kind of don't want to be that kid, but I also don't want to be left out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going into high school and I know I'm going to feel it. That feeling of being left out, because I already do. And I'm going to be honest, I've tried to work around the lockdown on my phone. It hasn't really worked. So I guess I want social media more than I know.
That's really good. I mean, that's really honest. It's not good that you've tried to work around the lockdown. So we went into this decision about the phones with a contract. Do you want to share?
I remember where I was going earlier when I got distracted. They're doing a lot for the younger kids, these two. They help out a lot. And that was one of the reasons why we decided to get y'all phones.
Lizzie and Gus.
Yeah, Lizzie
okay.
and Gus, the littles. Our 9-year-old and 7-year-old. Y'all help out a lot. And so for us too, it was also a thing of just us being practical and having a way to get in touch with y'all. But as you were talking about earlier, like there is a price to pay when you say yes to this, to manage it. And when we were in the throes of that decision, I remember waking up early in the morning and I was praying and I wrote out this iPhone agreement in just probably a matter of, I don't know, 30 minutes. It all came to me and I wrote it out and I was praying through it, working through it. And I felt like this would be a great way for us to be looking at the same standard, agree to that standard, and understand what it means to commit to that. And so it holds us responsible as parents to a certain code of conduct, and it holds y'all as the teenagers, hold you responsible to a certain code of conduct. And one of the things that I incorporated into this agreement at the beginning is this statement that we do not expect you to be perfect, but we do expect you to be honest. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Navigating this phone situation.
And we're 6 months in now. So we got the phones at Christmas. They signed the contracts. Then we got the phone.
And we essentially actually didn't get the phones at Christmas.
It wasn't a Christmas gift because there are a lot of opportunities for your phone to be taken out of your possession. And it felt weird for it to be a gift that we could take away.
Correct. This is a tool that we manage together. And we have an understanding as to what it looks like to properly manage that tool. And there are very specific consequences that come with mismanaging the phone. So, but I want to go back to what we were saying about doing it perfectly versus doing it honestly. Asher, I just want to hear some of your thoughts on that. I'm looking at you because I know you have thoughts on this.
Well, I definitely don't do it perfectly.
Yeah.
I try to do it honestly sometimes. Other times I'm just frustrated that it's so locked down. It's different for me being in 8th grade and having all my friends with total freedom. It's like, why do y'all get total freedom, but I don't? Do my parents love me more? Or my parents more strict? It's like a weird balance. I understand honesty when I'm in a good mood. When I'm not feeling myself, I'm like, you know what? This sucks.
Yeah.
So.
Right now, are you in a good mood?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask you this question since you're in a good mood. Do you think we made the right decision giving you the phone when we did and locking it down the way we have? Or do you think it would have been better for us to just not give you a phone and not have anything to lock down? or to give you a phone and you have complete freedom. So really 3 options here.
That's a loaded question.
It is a loaded
I-
question.
I-
Hold on. I want your answer next.
Well, I think getting us phones was a good idea because I've seen what it does to kids if they don't get phones. If they're like older, like in high school and they don't have a phone, it becomes almost an addiction, even worse than getting a phone before. And so it's a tricky tightrope. You've got to know when and what to do. And I think the idea of getting us phones and then helping us slowly get full freedom and guide us is really helpful. And because I mean, if we get a phone like when we move out or when we start driving, it can be really unhealthy, and it could lead to us spending so much time on our phone trying to make up for the years we didn't have it.
Well, also because we have freedom then. So, like, y'all aren't controlling our phone anymore. Yeah. So then if we got it then, it would be like, it's our phone now. We decide what we do with it.
I mean, it's like feeding a baby to the wolves.
Wow.
Wow. I do think you're onto something, though. As parents, we have a responsibility to train you for freedom. Because if our goal to manage and to navigate your growth process is to always restrict freedom, like that option will not always be there. As you grow up, as you have more latitude to do different things, like you have to understand how to manage your own freedom. That being said, just giving you all the freedom at the beginning would actually destroy the purpose of freedom. Like I love how Paul writes, it's for freedom that we have been set free. The goal is not for us to go back to bondage because we don't understand how to navigate freedom. The goal is to understand what freedom is for so we can enjoy the benefits of freedom. And so as parents, we want you to enjoy the benefits of freedom and not be a slave to the bondage that comes with not understanding how to navigate freedom. Gigi, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Any more thoughts that you have?
I feel like me personally, I feel like I was a little too young to get a phone.
Okay.
Because I think you were talking about how the guy on that thing you were listening to was saying, like, was it 14?
Yes, that girls between the ages of 12 and 14 in particular.
It's not the best for them.
It is literally the worst time to give a girl in that state. And he was primarily talking about social media to introduce them to the world of social media. And with that, crazy skyrocketing suicide rates in girls from when social media wasn't a factor for girls in puberty to now. So this isn't just hey, this could waste time or steal from their childhood. Those are factors, but it's literally taking people's lives because of the exposure to the comparison. And
so it breeds discontentment.
Yeah.
The goal is to make you discontent with yourself, with your life, with your environment. And that's what they're getting constantly. And so we just want to be clear, because I think it's important that we say this very clearly. We don't think there is any reason why anyone should be on social media 16 at the earliest. Even then, I personally have concerns. We'll cross that bridge when y'all get to 16. But the studies are in. It is extremely unhealthy for kids, teenagers, to have access to social media before 16. Extremely unhealthy. And so even if you're out there like, oh, shoot, I've already given my kids access to social media, I would tell you as a parent, hey, you are responsible now for what you know. I would take that privilege away. I would. And it is a privilege to engage through social media. It's also a danger. And so anyway.
And actually going back to that, what I was listening to yesterday, the point was made that parents have gotten more protective in real world situations, like letting their kids ride their bikes to a friend's house or to the grocery store, or just go outside and find something to occupy your time. They have gotten more protective there and so much less protective
instead
online.
Online.
And that needs to be flipped. The point that this expert was making was he was saying that we need to be letting our kids have freedom to go, to explore, to, get into
mistakes,
trouble, make mistakes.
Yeah.
Don't ding dong ditch.
Yeah. Guys, don't
Too
do it.
late.
Don't do it.
And more restrictive online, where the real dangers, the dangers that you're not equipped to handle. And I think that's the
A
reality.
lot of adults aren't equipped to handle them too, if we're honest.
I don't even have Instagram on my phone because I get on it and I recognize like, oh, this is very addictive. 30 minutes have just passed and I'm on this random, probably something to do with cooking or sourdough or decor. And there's real life stuff. There's real life humans who I could be spending this attention and energy towards. And instead, I'm engaged in this world that's very stimulating and yet very little satisfaction.
I want to go back to something I said earlier. I don't know if social media is a privilege. I'm serious.
He's
Like
been
I said,
thinking about
I
that
have.
this entire time.
I have been thinking about
What was
it.
the last word I said?
Because I think people look at it like, oh, I need to earn this. And the
Yeah.
truth is, I think social media is not a privilege. It's something that you have to figure out what role it needs to play in your life
And
or
if.
business, or if
Yeah.
it should be a part of your life or a part of what you do, what you invest time and energy into. So I do want to restate that because I've been thinking about, I love what you shared and I've been thinking about that. And I don't think we should create this track for our kids. Like, hey, if you do these right things, if you check these boxes, then you'll finally be welcomed into this great
Yeah.
world of
So
social media.
This is important.
It's like,
I don't like where this conversation
I know.
is going.
I know. And that's why, and I'm looking at you across the table and I'm thinking about this. I'm like, man, I don't want you to think, oh, if I'm a responsible young man, then I have the right to engage on social media. Like this is something that as parents, we all need to be prayerful about and also sensitive to the seasons that our kids are in and also like the battles that they're navigating. Create safe place where we can have honest conversations about what they're navigating and how social media could make those challenges much more difficult for them.
And it's easy for adults to talk about kids and teenagers and the risks of them using. I'm going to do lots of
these
quotations.
these air
and then they
quotes.
became
Aggressive air
like
quotes, too.
T-Rex arms.
Yeah, like dragon arms.
And how they're so at risk navigating social media. But the truth is, for parents listening with small kids, young kids, you are setting a standard in your home. You are affecting the spiritual atmosphere of your home by your own engagement with these things, by the way you allow them to steal from the joy and contentment, the comparison factors, these, blogger mommies whose kids are all in monochromatic clothing, which, y'all are black and white. Good job. No, but really, like we are, and with AI now, the way that we are constantly feeding ourselves with impossible images that will never, it's the same, I think, it's very similar at least to what pornography does to real intimacy, where it sets this standard of stimulation that real life just can't compete with. So
back to the contract. Can we go back to the contract?
we absolutely can.
Are you wanting to continue on that?
Yes. No.
Okay. I want two things I want to mention on the contract. We were at church a few weeks ago, and I had a chance to talk to a dad and pray with him, and he shared with me his daughter knows Sophia, and they're right there. She's 13 years old, trying to figure out the phone situation, and I told him about our journey with phones, and I actually sent him the agreement, and he's like, can I please see that? And he read through the agreement, talked to his daughter, and they ended up getting their daughter a phone for various reasons. And she signed the agreement, everything, did all that. And I had the thought, I was like, hey, if there are parents out there who are like, hey, I would love to have something like this. I'd love to make this shaking his head. I want to hear why you're shaking your head in a moment. I would love to share this with y'all.
Yes.
So there will be information in the description, comments,
In the show notes.
Show notes. We'll put a link in there so y'all can get this agreement. But I want to know, Asher, why are you shaking your head? I mean, you
Let's not inflict other kids with this.
Listen, you initial
crippling disease.
No, all right, no, crippling disease. Okay, you tell me what do you not like about the agreement?
Well, why do you think it's a crippling disease?
Well, I don't like that my phone shuts down at 8:30.
Okay,
Like,
Why does your phone shut down at 8:30 though?
why? Because one, it affects your sleep, especially social media, I think. And just the brightness of the phone, dopamine spikes, and stuff like that. Two, because sometimes at night, like even on weeknights, that's a great time to connect with the people around you, like your family. And because, I mean, your parents are at work, your siblings are at school, and that's the time you're all together.
yeah.
It's like a 4-hour little area. And if you're on your phone the entire time, you miss out. These are the pros.
So I was going to say, yeah, okay, these sound like really good reasons. Let's hear the cons.
Also, because where do our phones go at night?
My room.
That is not even true.
Downstairs.
That's right. No, none of our phones, dad or I included, are kept in our bedrooms.
None of us.
They're all, unless dad's traveling, then I do keep my phone in my room and I lock my door. I'm sorry, guys.
And I do think that's
Yeah, I know.
important point. You brought it up earlier too. It's like this idea of don't try to hold your kids, your teenagers to a standard that you're not holding yourself to, at least the spirit of the standard. It's okay if the specifics are a little different. You're in different
going to be
seasons. They're
different.
going to be different. But the spirit, what you're going for with the standard, as far as the spirit that you're trying to create in your home, if you're telling your kids, hey, don't get your affirmation or whatever from the phone, and then you're constantly on your phone, that's an extremely confusing message, and your kids are just going to look for ways around whatever safeguard you put.
And they're
in
not
place.
going to trust you.
There's always a way around.
There's always a way. And that's actually a really good point, Asher. I love that. There's always a way around. No, let me share this. There's always a way around. So you have to teach them the why behind the what. If you just put the what in place and you don't teach them the why, then they will find a way, whether it's a friend's phone or whatever, or a way to circumvent whatever safeguards you put on your phone, they're going to find a way around that. And so we have to talk about why we're doing this and the dangers of not doing this well with our children, with our teenagers.
Yeah.
I want to hear more though from the big man over there.
I understand what phones do to you, and I know I sound like I'm rooting for both sides of this, and I am. I mean, it's a battle going on inside me
It's good, Ash.
with wanting a phone, wanting freedom, but also knowing why I can't have that freedom and knowing myself and what I would do with that freedom. So it's like a raging war inside of me, me against me. And it's really confusing at times. And sometimes I lose it and I'm just frustrated. Other times I'm thinking, you guys. And it's mood swings. I mean, I'm 14. I don't know myself yet. I don't know pretty much a lot about me. And it's like, can I handle social media in a phone? And I know I can't. But then I'm like, I want it. I want it bad. And then I ask myself why. And I can't think of any good reason besides friends and personal just boredom. I know I could spend my time doing productive things like extra schoolwork, benefits of being homeschooled, being outside, working on bettering myself as a person, but I don't want to. I want to spend all my day on social media. So
Yeah. I love your self-awareness. And here's the thing, parents, we need to create space for our kids, and Asher, you're a young adult, not a kid, but kids, young adults, to articulate the dissonance of what they're navigating in this season. Asher and I, we watched, remember that TED Talk that we watched where she talked about how teenagers lose 50% of their brain and they don't get it back till they're 25.
see,
Remember that?
when I try to use that in my arguments, you turn it against
It's a sword that cuts both ways, buddy. It really is. But my point is being aware of that and creating space for that dissidence and dissonance. And as you were sharing, I was hearing the Apostle Paul when he wrote Romans 7, like describing this internal battle. And so there needs to be room for that. So, do you have any thoughts? I loved what you shared with me yesterday. Do you want to share that about the phone? And if we needed to take it away,
I'd be fine with it.
Would you be relieved if we took it away?
I mean, no and yes. Because, like, I still want to be able to text my friends, but I feel like that's, like, one of the main things I'm always doing on my phone. And I just, like, catch myself, like, if I went on there to, like, check the weather, I'll be, like, texting. I'm like, wait, how did I get here? And it's just kind of, like, annoying.
And it's designed to pull you in and have you do more and more and more. So thank you guys for joining us in this conversation. And it is an ongoing conversation because we're not claiming to be doing this perfectly. We're doing it to the best of our understanding, hoping to champion you guys as you move through this world and you grow and you develop. And this is a real part of life. Now, if the world, like everything crashes tomorrow, it won't be.
Wow, that's where you went, huh?
Just kidding.
So
We all die.
Kingdom come.
Here's the agreement. Just holding it up right here. Here's
really
the agreement. We've gone through it, and I really do. I feel like it's a great starting point for people who are looking for something like that. So we'll make it available in the show notes too for you.
But it's an ongoing journey, an ongoing journey. And Ash, what you just exemplified,
it's brilliant.
Really is it really is our own walk with God.
Yeah.
Like I have to sit with God and say, hey, this is what I want internally. This is what I see externally. Here's what I know you're calling me to, but I don't want to do it. How do we manage here, God?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of the time it's after the fact, after I haven't done the thing that I knew I was supposed to do. And so this is what you're experiencing with Dad and I. It's never going to end.
Yay.
Congratulations.
You get better at navigating.
You get better at navigating it. Thankfully, it then is not humans, it's God.
Yeah, you learn how to
and you're
rely on the
experiencing
Spirit
it
of
with God. This has went down a weird path.
No, I actually think it's a great path. I mean, and that's
Okay, everybody, have a nice day.
We mentioned Romans 7 and the internal conflict. In Romans 8, Paul comes to this place where he's like, there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And he starts to talk about the power of the Spirit of God, that when he comes to the end of himself, he realizes the sonship that is his by the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
And how that changes everything, what he can say yes to, what he can say no to. And so that's my prayer for all of us as we close out this episode. I mean, we have this great promise that we have received this spirit of sonship and what it is to be sons and daughters and navigate the growth process well. And a big part of that is being honest about the tension, being honest about the disconnect. I think sometimes we feel this pressure to make things too contrived and buttoned up because we're Christ followers. And the reality is God does some of his best work in our lives when we're honest about the messiness that we're experiencing and moving through. So thank you both for what you shared. It was incredible having you on the show. It's even better having you as our teenagers. And so do you want us to pray? Do you want to pray us out or do you want me to pray us out? Your choice. This isn't a trick question.
I'll pray.
Love it.
Okay. God, thank you for this time. Thank you that we can share our experience with everyone else. And thank you for everyone who's listening. And thank you that they can use this and help their kids, or they can use this and help themselves. And thank you that we get to walk through this with God and with them. So, amen.
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 Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us again at Home with the Beveres, where we are so passionate about helping you create a legacy starting at home. If you haven't already, go right ahead and like and subscribe. And guys, as well, leave us a comment below, because whenever you leave a comment, it helps us curate content that can help so many other people. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time at Home with the Beveres.